Hello, welcome to part 2 of Voyage to Cashlandia. This is part 2, so I hope you have watched part 1, then you understand the concept of this video and what I'm about to explain here. But just a short refresher, this is about the Coin Caching Mega Event. They release a pre-event shirt every year. It has two parts. Part 1 you can solve before the event, part 2 is solved at the event itself. So from the pre-event shirt, we had calculated a location, which was basically a meeting place behind this building, close to a brewery, and also a meeting time, which of course was the day of the event, and the time itself, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we had a lock combination. All of this turned out to be correct. And so when we arrived, it was probably already 20, 30 cars there in the parking lot. Maybe even more, with people that had solved the pre-event shirt as well. So at the locations there was a closed lockbox, so it had a padlock on it, and that was exactly at the calculated coordinates. And then nearby at the brewery there was another sign that was revealed at the time given, and that sign had the following information. So you can see the picture right here. And of course it had the same rune symbols on it. So if we translated them, it says turn 8, 28, 10, 00, turn 9, and then similar like the turn cards of the game itself, it had instructions in the same order as the turn cards, and with either how the pawns would move on turn 9 and on turn 10. But for turn 8, it only had these three numbers. Well, the first thing to mention here is that indeed this was something that we had anticipated, that we would get more turns as the game hadn't finished yet, and it turned out to be true. So that was good. But yeah, for turn 8, we now had these three numbers, but we also had the closed box. And indeed, when you went with those numbers and you used that to unlock the code, with the unlock code, then it revealed turn card 8, which translated as follows. So now we have three turn cards that we can play, and we can continue to play the game. So that means that you had to put a turn after, of course, you've done the translation, you can play the game. Now you've already seen in part 1 that I created an online simulation that kind of knew all the rules, but I had to make a slight update for that. So you can find the version online, so that is the latest version. If you don't get 2.3, you either have to clear your cache, or you can, in Chrome, you can use the control key. So you can hold the control key and click the page refresh, and that will do a hard load, and that should give you version 2.3. So that way you have the latest version. Now, what is new in this version? Two things. It has a support for an undocumented rule, which is, well, I named it the Drunken Sven rule. And that is, if Tailend Sven is near a brewery, he forgets he's Tailend Sven. We'll see how that comes into play. So that is an undocumented, not official rule, but to the best of my understanding, a rule that you had to use. The second one was also a brewery reset. Remember that I mentioned in the last video that there were potentially a better coordinate, which was at the brewery. You didn't have to use that one to solve the second day, but if you did, you got surprisingly decent coordinates out of it, and were actually might have been able to find the final location. But let's get started, and let's see where these extra cards, what they do. So yeah, so this is the 2.3 version. So as I mentioned, if you hold the control key and you click on the refresh button in Chrome, then you always get the latest version. And so this has more of the rules in there. So if we scroll down, it doesn't stop at 7. It also has the other moves loaded in here. As well as that it has the two new options. So either the Drunk Sven variant or the Brew Reset. So plays the game slightly different. So we'll calculate the game, and I'll go immediately towards turn 8. So basically the begin situation. So this ends up in the situation where we left off the last time. So this was the end situation of being right behind the brewery coordinates. So these were the final coordinates where we ended up. So from here we can play the turns that were given of turn card 8, 9 and 10. So let's play. It starts with the 13, so red goes forward 13. And here you see immediately what happens, because if red goes forward 13, red being tail and Sven would normally not nudge this one, he would stay at green. But this is the drunk Sven, because he's near a brewery, so kind of had to think the way of Cashlandia works, and that we actually had to nudge this time, because that led to good coordinates. So that means from here he will nudge the indigo color, and we can go on with the next move. Blue goes back 1, green skips a turn, yellow skips a turn, orange goes forward 6. That also means that orange bounces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, ends up at white. Of course there's no more puzzles, so that doesn't matter. And a violet goes forward 6 as well, and kind of stays in the same place. And indigo will go forward 2, and we're having the end of turn 8. End of turn 8, no special situations, and we've done the first turn card, leading us to this situation. So yeah, this of course took a while before we realized that we didn't have to nudge Tail and Sven this time, or that Tail and Sven did have to nudge. So this made it all very complicated. I think otherwise it would have been a pretty straightforward solve. Then card 9. At this point on, Tail and Sven behaves again like normal, so we can move on. And we're going to play the turn 9 cards. So red goes backwards, 11. Blue goes forward 4. Green goes forward 7. Yellow goes backward 3. Goes forward 3. Orange goes backwards 2. And violet goes forward 3. Actually, indigo's last one goes forward 7. Actually, no special situations at this part. However, we are in a blown of course situation, because red is on their own color, blue is on their own color, yellow is on its own color. So we have 3. So what they're going to do is they're going to switch places. They're all going to move forward, and the one in front goes to the back. So you see these 3 now switch places. And we finished turn card 9. Now let's look at the last one, turn card 10. So turn card 10 will give us the following situation. We end up right here. So first red goes forward 15, which is of course a lot. So right now I mentioned 31, so it goes to 46. So we see that right there. Blue goes backwards 9. It's right there. Green goes back 6. Yellow skips a turn. Orange goes back 5. And of course that's white, but no more puzzles. Violet goes 9. So let's do that. There we go. Which now of course nudges backwards because we're going back. So he nudges this one backwards. And then indigo goes forward 7 as the last move. Now there's a kind of special situation going on, because we're at the end of the turn, and indigo has been on red the last 3 turns. We can actually see that in a second as well. So according to rule 16, this is a shipwreck, and indigo goes to 0. So it goes right here. This actually turns out to be a very important step. If you didn't do this step, your coordinates would be incorrect. They would be in the area, but certainly not correct, because we don't have a winner yet. But we have something else. So let's take a look at what we have. So we just played the game, and we played the 3 turn cards. However, if we take a look at the turn cards after each turn, we notice something special, because this was the first turn, and as I mentioned, indigo was on red. Indigo actually turned out on red after all of the 3 turns, 8, 9 and 10, and therefore shipwrecked at the end. But let's take a look at just this setup of turn 8. This one is on one of the, and I should have marked it actually on the board, one of the special cards, because the end card right here is a 3 for north and an 8 for west, meaning that it most likely leads to a good coordinate for if red is there. This one is the same because we've used this one before to get the brewery coordinates. So this is another one that if red is on this one, we may get a coordinate. And indeed, if we calculate, we actually see a very familiar coordinate. We get this coordinate. So if you follow the Roy G. Biff again, we actually end up with a coordinate right in front of the brewery. That's interesting, because this is exactly a coordinate that we talked about before. However, we're now a turn later, and our board setup is different, although only slightly. So if we played this, so we played this out, everybody kind of like stayed on their own track, right? And so we got coordinates. But the same thing happened after turn 9, because this is the situation after turn 9. And again, we see that red is on a familiar position, this 3-8 position. And if we calculate that, we get these coordinates somewhere else in Rome. But 17071 and 13027 leads to an area, this is called, I think, the GE Park, but this is an area where caches can be hidden and have been hidden in other years. And finally, if we do it after turn 10, you get this setup, and again we see red on a good situation with a 3-8 card. So also this gave a coordinate, and we see that these two are close together. Well, that is promising. We have the brewery, which we already were, so that didn't matter anything, and we have these two coordinates. So our next stop would be to go to these two coordinates. So let's see what we have. We started indeed with the situation of turn 7. We played all the 3 cards with our new extra rule, and the first card led us back to the brewery in almost the same as the beginning situation. The next one played out to go right here, and the last card goes right here. So if you went to those locations and you searched around and you calculated everything correctly, then you would find these two wooden plaques with like a 3D printed or some kind of 3D material on it that looked like the runes, but kind of like broken into pieces. And this is where the last part, or the unused part of the pre-event shirt was used, and that was the crayon and the piece of paper. Because what you had to do is combine this. Well, that was easier said than done. Because with the crayons, and you see more successful and less successful executions of this, you kind of had to go over the same one twice, and if you did that well, you could read the combined coordinates. So we ended up using a combination of scans, looked at the pictures, and combined, we were able to decode this. So I highlighted here the differences between the two, so it's kind of harder to see here. But then you get indeed a full rune text again. So while this shows only half, this one shows already slightly more, but it's harder to read. This one is the fully worked out scan. And again, we see the colors. Only in this case, it is in reverse order. So in this case, red is the last one to move. So the rules actually allowed for this. I didn't know that at the point in time, but there was actually a rule that said they all go in the same order unless the cards say otherwise. So it was a little bit of experimentation whether you had to play this in reverse or which direction you had to play. But yeah, we have another turn card and we have used our final piece, right? We've used the crayon and the piece of paper to get the combined turn card. So, and if we translated that turn card, it would say the following steps. As I mentioned, they are in reverse order. So indigo is now the first one to move, red is the last one to move. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward in go forward and go backwards with a certain amount of steps. Nothing like north, south, east, west, all the other things that are going on. So let's play this. So again, easiest way for me to show it is just use the online version again. So calculate the moves. Oops, I'm going to leave that setting on. Calculate the moves. Go to, in this case, step 11. And we have just had our shipwreck, right? Because at the end of turn 10, so at the beginning of turn 10, we see that indigo had been on red twice. And at the end, indigo ended up in red again, and so it shipwrecked. So that means that this one is over there. And that's also our first move. It now goes forward to 13. So it is there, and we execute the next steps. Orange goes forward 6, yellow goes backward 5, green goes forward 13, blue goes backwards 2, and red goes forward 4, which gives us a winner. We have a winner of the game. At the last move of the game, red turns out to have won, and now of course we have our final coordinate. So we have a winner. Yes, after all these months and preparations of the pre-shirt and all the hecticness on the day itself, we finally have used all the rules and a little bit more to get to the final coordinates. So you see that the final setup right here after turn card 11, and now there is only one thing more to do. That is go find the final. So about 2.5 miles if I remember correctly. And now of course very important to have that combo from the pre-event shirt, as that will open the box. And for the first one that was able to open and find the cache and have it open was the first to find prize. For others, there was the honor of having solved it, being part of the first to find group. And if you still find it, you can of course still get the smiley. It hasn't been published yet. Don't know. Some years it does, some years it doesn't. So we don't know. But then in case you get the smiley for solving this shirt. So with that, of course, I'd like to thank the Going Caching crew for organizing the mega event, and especially the Waysiders for all the effort that they put into the pre-event shirt and this puzzle. I'm sure it took a lot of effort to put all those rules and all the situations in place to make all the rules happen as well. And yeah, that was very impressive. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. That way other people will find it, but also you will be notified when new videos come out. So I have another ones lined up. For example, one of them about some of the mystery caches that I published in Rome and how they can be solved. I will talk about in some of the next videos. But you can also look in the library. There's many other videos out there that talk about a lot of different puzzle cache topics and puzzle cache techniques. So hopefully you'll pick up something new and help you solve caches in your area. If you're in my area, it certainly helps you solve my caches, anything related to me. If you have any questions, would like to contact me, you can contact me on the WhatFN5, or you can email me at the Gmail address that's listed right here. With that, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for your time.